Hi everyone, my name is Cameron and you're back to Cam's Garage. Introducing for the second time today is my cheapest in America Nissan Xterra PRO-4X. It is a 6-speed manual. For today, we are going to be focusing on three things. Number one, we're going to be doing the oxygen sensor. I currently have two codes that I'm actually seeing. Both codes are for the upstream passenger side O2 sensor. The other item is the cabin air filter. I have a little bit of smell inside the interior. I think I can do that as well as a thorough detail, which is the third part. We are going to be taking out the entire interior, and you're actually going to see a time lapse of me and my buddy Jake going through the entire thing and cleaning it out in order to bring this thing back to what I kind of need it to be in order to be a part-time daily driver and full-time pig. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and dive into the O2 sensor. All right, so this may be a little bit hard to see. All we have is just our upstream oxygen sensor. Easiest access is from here. On my car, my fender was already damaged, so I actually just snipped off a little portion in order to make this a much easier job than it would otherwise be. If you were doing this normally, your access would either be from above or probably from below, and you'd want to remove the wheel. Because I have the fender out of the way, I actually don't really have to do that. Now, I've gone ahead, there's just a clip that is at the rear end of the block. I've gone ahead and disconnected the wire. The only other three things you're gonna need for this, you need an oxygen sensor wrench, a long extension, especially for what I'm doing, and then just a 3/8 drive. For me personally, I'm gonna be using a breaker bar. So let's go ahead and get this on there. The way these work, you just slide it up and over. All right, that's on. Get the extension on there. Is that my long one? Yep. Make sure I've got that extension on there well. All right, heard the extension pop. Let's get that breaker on. And then, like anything, just counterclockwise, and she should come right off. What I found usually is that it takes a bit of force in order to get that initial break, but once you get that initial break, it's actually pretty easy. It's just the heat buildup that really makes it a kind of a nightmare. All right, that's it. The other warning I'll give when you're doing these, make sure that your engine is not scalding hot. I had my engine running for about a minute and a half. Unfortunately, it's not too hot right now, but if you have a hot engine, you gotta let it cool down, otherwise you're gonna burn yourself. All right, I'm just pulling my socket wrench out, or my O2 wrench out, and she's coming out. Just by hand. Now, I was told by the prior owner that this oxygen sensor was actually just a cheap Amazon one, and I believe this is what was causing my two check engine lights. I'm gonna go ahead and get this swapped out and we'll find out. All right, so now that we have our old oxygen sensor pulled, we're gonna go ahead and put our new one in. Our new part number is 234-9036 for our passenger side upstream. This is a Denso unit that came directly from Rock Auto. So again, it's always something very important to go to a reputable source. What I have learned, especially with sensitive things such as an oxygen sensor, is if you buy them from Amazon, a lot of the time these are going to be fake or knockoffs. As I often refer to them, they are going to be cheap Chinesium. In fact, while I'm not familiar with this, there is a significant weight difference with the new one that I'm actually holding. On top of that, you can actually see that the build quality between the two is a little bit different. Obviously, with this guy being the new one. Ignore the, kind of the wear or carbon that is on this old one, but even the wiring looks thicker on the new one. I think it's pretty clear that this is not a factory unit. This one feels more substantial. All right, let's go ahead. We want to peel that off. because these are Denso units, they actually come pre-greased with anti-seize. You'll actually see that on as soon as I remove this cap. So let's go ahead and get that up in there. There's my exhaust manifold. Okay, and just like pulling it out, you just want to get it right in the hole, pun intended. And it should just nice and thread, just like that. Then when you're tightening it down, the way that I have always done it, someone will probably tell me that this is incorrect. I like to get it to, we'll call it a half an ugga dugga. So not super tight, and then remember it does have that anti-seize on there, but if for any reason you ever do have to pull it off, it's really important not to over tighten the hell out of these. Because I have actually taken off a couple that other people have tried to do, and they have just tightened the ever-living crap out of them. All right, that's on. Let's use our breaker. Just get that in. All right, a little more, and I would call that good. And not too much leverage. There may be a specific tolerance or torque that you're supposed to get that to, but again, for this car, I don't think it's gonna matter. All right, now all I need, my connector into my there it is. Ugh. Yes, this is every bit as comfortable as it looks. All right, she's in. Oxygen sensor, good to go. Let's go ahead and do our check engine light. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna erase our codes. So first of all, just gonna start up the car. The check engine light is already gone. I actually didn't even have to clear it. Let's just make sure that we're reading properly. No codes are stored. Because that was an outright failure on that oxygen sensor, I was halfway expecting that, but not quite fully. The reason that I thought it might just go out without even having to erase the codes is it was reading null, or that nothing was actually coming back to that specific sensor. So by just replacing it, getting one in, I can already tell that it's working. And honestly, the car should be running better than it ever has in my 4 days of ownership. So going to shift to the cabin air filter now. All right, so moving into our cabin air filter now. What I've gone ahead and done is purchase this just from Rock Auto, same as the O2 sensor. Part number is P3602WS. It was actually $5 on clearance at Rock Auto. All you do then, I'm gonna attach a really good video that I found. He'll do a better job actually showcasing what you do. Let your glove box down, remove the little filter cap or just plastic housing piece. This was actually kind of a pain in the butt, and I sadly broke the left side. I don't think it's gonna be too big a deal. And then there's actually two filters that are kind of jammed up in there. And oh my God. I don't know if this has like ever been changed. So for I mean, there's like pounds of just dust in there. That is disgusting. All right, so there's two of them. All right, one's out. There's the second. That one has a dead bee in it. That is single-handedly one of the grossest, if not the grossest air filter I've ever seen. And that is really cool. I've never seen a bee in one. Okay. So now that that's out, let's go ahead and make sure that we put these in the right way. All right. We want to make sure that our airflow is pointing, I believe it is down. I want the airflow to be pointing down. I think those are actually the original air filters to the car. It's pointing down. It's a weird design how they kind of have this jamming in there like this, but leave it to Nissan to just do things a little wonky. I make myself a little bit of room in there. I believe that's good now. Wow, these are actually really a pain in the butt. I'm gonna get a pry tool to push that in. Let's just use my 3/8 drive. Just using that to kind of get that filter where it needs to go. That did it. Getting our airflow points down. This is one of the harder cars I've actually done. Both of those fill appropriately in place. Amazing. Let's put a little cap back on. Should just kind of be able to feel it go. Maybe not quite. It's a nice little thunk. Okay. Push that back into place. This has the little string that reattaches to the glove box. Lift the glove box up a little bit to reattach. Alright. Pushing it back up and in. As always, it's important to put all your stuff back in the glove compartment. Close it up. Done. Now that you've seen me do the oxygen sensor and the cabin air filter, the next big thing is going to be the time lapse of our interior detail. We ended up pulling out all of the seats and everything. Check this out. Okay, that was a lot of work actually detailing the interior of this thing. Let's show you guys how it looks. So as you guys saw, seats actually came out of the car. We shampooed everything. The original Motor Trend floor mats that I had in here, I have in the garage just in case I go off-roading. We got all the sweat stains and all the disgusting odors that were previously in here. Wolverine did still get to the seat right there, but we cleaned the absolute daylights out of here. The other thing that was crazy is the amount of stuff that ends up getting between the seat and that center console. That was revolting. I think I still am gonna have to redo this center console. And the steering wheel, while we did remove the cover, it has seen better days. It honestly looks pretty good. It just has a lot of sun wear. As for the back seat, just ignore the couple of things on the floor. We put baking soda in here just to make sure that we got all the moisture out of the car and that there were no odors. I did have a little bit the morning after. This is actually 3 or 4 days later. But seats, again, look phenomenal. There is no odor in the car whatsoever. Going back to the trunk, you'll see that we did get everything looking pretty darn good. Again, I mean, for 215,000 miles, it actually looks and smells really good in here. Again, we just have a thing in here to try and help with the smell or odor that we might otherwise have in the car. All right, that next video is also going to include a formal exterior wash because, as you can imagine, it needs it. Let's go ahead and take you guys for a quick ride along in the Xterra. So now that I've had my new Xterra for about a week, I've put about 350, 400 miles on the car. And I have some high-level thoughts, you could say. In general, I really enjoy driving it. The driving experience, steering decently good, doesn't need an alignment. Gas mileage, I am seeing about 13.5, between 13 and 13.5. It is not wonderful. Similar to the Thunder MTs that are on here that are loud, I didn't really expect it to be great, but honestly, it somehow exceeded my low expectations of being pretty abysmal. There's not much I can do there. It's a lifted body on frame SUV on 33s. I'm not going to complain, especially for the experience that you're getting. It's pretty fun. Probably my favorite thing in the car so far is actually the transmission. Unlike a lot of trucks that I've actually driven, this really doesn't feel like a truck manual shifter. It feels more like the 350Z that it's pulled out of. It's probably the highlight of the entire driving experience. Cruise control works great. Everything's been really good. It's been a solid car. I'm excited to put some actual miles on it. My biggest gripes, number one, the suspension is squeaking like crazy. I'm going to try and grease it up, but if I'm being honest, at 215,000 miles, I know what the inevitable is. I need to just go ahead and stomach the rebuilding it cost. That'll be upper and lower control arms, probably CV axles, and then obviously shocks, coilovers, and leaf springs for the rear. And I'll do the formal lift that it actually needs. I think that would really help it. The other thing, I'm having two other issues that you're going to see in my next video. Number one, I've already mentioned that the heater core is blown in the car. Air conditioning blows cold. Fortunately, that's not impacted. However, with summer going to come to a close in Atlanta in the next couple of months, I do need to go ahead and get on that. Also, because that heater core is out and we have a lot of humidity here, I'm having significant issues of fogging up, especially when it's rainy outside. And I have no way to defog the windshield. I'm going to apply some Rain-X defogger in order to try and help that issue, but who really knows? The other issue, I'll say, and I'll go ahead and fix this in the next video, is going to be the battery terminals. For whatever reason, the negative battery terminal on the car really will not tighten down very well. It just needs to be replaced. Sadly, I don't know if it's already been replaced or if the factory negative terminal just came very short anyway. I can't snip it off and put a new one on. I either A, have to extend it, which objectively I don't want to do for electricity, or B, I need to just put a new wire on there, which is probably what I'm going to end up doing. I threw a check engine light and had a random shut off the other day, and then I figured out that it was just that loose terminal popping off. Applied some electrical tape around it. It's been fine since, but I know that that's a half-hearted approach to a pretty significant issue that the car has. But otherwise, I'm looking forward to continuing driving this thing. Last thing I want to note before I end this video, my next video is actually going to be something a bit unique. My buddies and I went on a huge road trip out west, covering a huge portion of the Pacific Northwest, both the US and Canada. And I'm actually going to go through on a formal video of that entire trip. I hope you guys enjoy the change up, but please let me know, like, subscribe, and thank you.